Elena. As requested, the fake blood and staged corpse are ready. Your death goes live in 10 days, right at your wedding.
Hearing the plan, Elena felt a surge of relief through her buried rage. Good. Keep my hearing recovery a secret. If a third soul finds out, you're dead, she replied, her voice low and steady.
Rest assured, my lips are sealed. The corpse will be perfect as simulated point-blank gunshot. In this business, no one survives a hit like that.
With the deal struck, Elena finally exhaled. She hung up and pushed open the door to the private lounge. The room went dead silent. Every capo recognized the cedar and smoke cologne kinging to her, along with the small black Morelli crest inked at the nares of her neck, a possessive mark left by Don Roman Morelli. Roman, sitting at the center, stood up immediately. He took her hand with his graceful, deadly fingers and guided her to his seat. His eyes were filled with faux concern, his voice carrying the heavy authority of a man born to rule. The tension broke, and the chatter resumed, until one man dared to speak up.
Roman, the wedding with that little stray is coming up. What's the plan for your pet lieutenant?
Elena's nails dug into her palms. They had no idea she could hear every word, which was why they were being so reckless. As the daughter of a fallen family, she was useless. No guns, no combat, not even a grasp of their underworld slang. She was used to their mockery. Even so, she could smell another woman's perfume on him. The man beside the speaker elbowed him.
She is right here.
He shrugged carelessly.
So what? It's not like this deaf girl can hear us. I'm just curious how Roman plans to deal with his little bitch.
All eyes turned to Roman. A flash of disdain passed over his face before he answered.
I'll keep her.
He peeled a shrimp and placed it onto Elena's plate before continuing.
She's just a toy I keep around. The woman I'm marrying is Elena, and only Elena. But if Elena ever learns the truth, she'll run. That's why I've kept it from her. Even after the wedding, I won't let her find out anything.
Roman's sharp gaze swept across the room, and the air seemed to grow heavier under it.
Watch your mouths. If anyone lets something slip in front of her, don't blame me if you disappear.
These men knew Roman's cruelty too well. They just smirked at the threat. His answer even drew a few amused whistles.
Roman, you've really got nerve. Hiding a toy from your future wife? Elena's just deaf. Anyway, as long as she's asleep at night, we can get away with anything.
Someone's eyes lit up with gossip.
Since she's clueless, have you ever brought your lieutenant home? Had a little fun while she was in the next room?
Roman chuckled, spinning the ring on his finger with lazy deliberation.
Of course. Very wild.
The room broke into rough laughter, and more than one man gave him an approving nod.
Roman really knows how to play. A girl like Elena is easy to fool. I'd pay to see her face when she finally hears the truth.
As the disgusting laughter filled the room, no one noticed Elena's knuckles turning white as she gripped her cutlery. No one knew her surgery 3 days ago was a success. They still thought she was a deaf girl who heard nothing. And no one knew she had decided to leave. There would be no wedding with Roman. On the day of the ceremony, the only thing Roman would receive was a blood-soaked corpse. A fake one. Roman noticed the untouched shrimp on her plate and turned to her, his face masking back into concern. Elena looked at the man whose eyes were full of counterfeit desta and forced a weak smile.
What were you all talking about just now? You seemed so excited.
Roman smiled and pressed a gentle kiss to the back of her hand. Roman wrote on the whiteboard, "They're saying our wedding."
Her glint weighing our wedding will be the one everyone envies.
Around the table, the men exchanged knowing looks. Elena caught the mockery in their eyes. Her heart felt like it had been dropped into acid. The pain was suffocating. They were laughing about his affair, and he twisted into a vow of love. Roman, I never knew you could lie so easily, she thought. Elena set down her knife and fork and rose from her seat. She could no longer stand the net of lies spread out in front of her. Seeing her leave, Roman stood up at once, a flicker of panic crossing his face. Roman continued writing on the whiteboard. My old dove, what wrong? Elena shook her head, her voice soft. I'm tired. I want to go back to the estate. Without waiting for a response, she walked out into the street. When she lifted her head, she saw the LED screen. A proposal video was playing on it.
Elena, marry me.
The words blazed at the center of the screen. Passers-by stopped and murmured in admiration.
God, I heard Don Roman's girl can't even hold a gun. He rented the tallest building in the city just for this. So romantic. Roman treats that useless girl ridiculously well. He'll definitely make a great boss.
Elena, the center of this spectacle, could only manage a bitter smile. A week ago, she would have believed it all. She would have believed he loved her. Born into a dying crime family, she was a misfit. No killer instinct, no survival skills. In her world, that weakness was a disgrace. She was an outcast. It was in that bleak stretch of her life that Roman appeared. He claimed it was love at first sight and chased her relentlessly. But Elena was no stranger to cruel games. She avoided him every chance she got. He pursued her 99 times, and she rejected him 99 times. Until the end. Roman took a bullet for her, right through the shoulder, and refused to leave her side. He held that protective position and refused to leave her side. When he woke in the hospital, he was so weak from blood loss he could barely sit up. Even so, the first thing he did was reach out and gently touch her face. In that moment, she believed that even a deaf girl could be worth dying for. The walls around her heart cracked for the first time. The bullet wound never fully faded, leaving a circular scar on his shoulder. Every time she saw it, her heart would stir. For 5 years, Roman's devotion never seemed to change. He surrounded her with affection that she believed him completely. Even when his men opposed their marriage, he pushed through the pressure and proposed. To stand by his side as his rightful partner, to feel the pulse of his world, she took an risk and underwent oral nerve repair surgery. If it failed, she would end up a vegetable. Miraculously, the operation was a success. She had planned to keep it secret and surprise Roman on the day of the wedding, but fate had other plans. The very day her hearing returned, the first thing it gave her was proof of Roman's betrayal. She overheard him on the phone with Bianca, his flirtation shameless and unchecked. That was when she learned the truth. He had betrayed her long ago. The affair had lasted a full year, and she had known nothing about it. The pain was crushing. She collapsed to the ground, holding herself. Roman's words from the private room echoed over and over in her mind. Even with the wedding approaching, he had no intention of ending the affair. Did he really think she was so useless that he could deceive her forever? The winter wind bit into her skin and slowly cleared her mind. She would prove to Roman that lies were always uncovered. And she, Elena, would never tolerate betrayal. Elena drew a slow breath and forced down the ache in her chest. Just as she was about to leave, a pair of hands wrapped around her from behind and pulled her into embrace. The scent of cedar and smoke closed around her, Roman's scent, strong, familiar, and filled with possessiveness. Roman took out the whiteboard and wrote on it, "My little dove, why didn't you wait for me? Bad mood today?" Roman wrote again, "How about I take you to see your wedding dress? The custom one is ready." Roman held her tight, his hands stroking the Moretti crest on her neck, the mark of his ownership. She said flatly, "I don't want to go. You can decide about the dress." On the wedding day, she'd be gone. She wouldn't be caught dead in that dress. Roman caught the coldness in her voice. His expression turned guarded. He gripped the board and wrote, "Why do I feel like you're not excited? Do you not want to marry me anymore?" Elena looked at the mob boss. His usual arrogance was replaced by a hint of fear. The answer almost slipped from her mouth. "Yes, I don't." "You betrayed us first. You're the one who ground our future into the dirt. You're the reason I no longer believe in this wedding." "And now you still have the right to ask me that?" But Elena was not ready to confront him. Not yet. At the boutique, as Roman and Elena stepped inside, the staff pulled back the velvet curtains to reveal the gown.
Miss, your custom gown from Milan has arrived. Let us know if any adjustments are needed.
The dress was ivory, shimmering under the lights. A pear-cut diamond sat at the center, glowing with a cold, sharp fire. Roman slipped an arm around Elena's waist.
My beloved is deaf. I shall replay everything to them.
Roman wrote the clerk's words on the board for me. I nodded that I understood. There was no denying it. The dress was stunning. Every detail was exactly her style, but no amount of beauty could mend the cracks in her heart. Roman wrote, "My little dove, look at the diamond. It's engraved, ENR forever." It was pathetic. He spent years writing on boards but never bothered to learn a single sign in sign language. His kindness was a performance. He seemed to see the doubt in my eyes. He quickly added another line. "Let our vows be witness. My love for you is eternal." Elena looked at the diamond. Sure enough, the initials were etched in the center. She looked up into his eyes full of fake devotion, and asked softly, "Will your love for me really last forever?" Panic flashed in Roman's eyes for a split second. Then he scribbled furiously, "I, Roman Moretti, swear to love Elena for life. If I break this vow, may the committee strip my name and let my empire perish with me." The words sounded sincere, but they couldn't thaw a heart that had already turned to ice. He had broken his promise long ago. Did he never tire of acting? Elena looked away, sick of his lying face. Roman seemed ready to say more, but his phone suddenly rang. His expression shifted for a split second before he stepped aside to take the call. When he returned, he looked apologetic. "Roman told me an emergency came up. He told me to try on the dress alone and let the staff know if I needed changes." With that, he rushed out, leaving her staring at his retreating back. Elena could only feel the sting of irony. Roman had never abandoned her for family business before. And yet, the look in his eyes as he turned away wasn't business. It was lust, plain as day. Work? Hardly. He was probably way on to see Bianca. When Elena got back to the estate, she saw the indentation on the bed. The air was thick with vanilla, perfume, and stale smoke. Realizing Roman and Bianca had been tangled together in her own room, she ran to the bathroom and retched. When Roman returned and saw her in that state, panic hit him at once. Roman asked with deep concern,
My little dove, do you stomach? I'll call the doctor right now.
Elena, her eyes honed, pressed down on his hand.
"I'm fine. I just thought of something disgusting."
Roman dropped to one knee, looking pained as he rubbed her back. Putting on a show of agony, he said mournfully,
Don't think about it. Seeing you like this kills me.
Elena looked down at him and noticed his open collar. There were fresh hickeys on his skin. She gabbed again. How strong did Roman's nerves have to be for him to let another woman leave marks on him and still come back to her wearing that same tender look? Roman only grew more distressed. Roman roared furiously.
Who did this to my little dove? Tell me, and I'll ruin them.
Elena's lips curved into a bitter smile. The one who made me this way was you. Late that night, Elena was jolted awake by a low, muffled groan. She reached for the man beside her, but the sheets were empty. She went downstairs. On the second floor, faint moans reached her ears. Her steps faltered, fighting through the sharp pain in her chest. She moved toward the guest room. The door was wide open. In the moonlight, the two bodies were impossible to miss. Bianca wore a strapless fishtail gown, but the long hem had been shoved up to her waist. Her pale, slender legs were wrapped tightly around Roman's hips. Bianca was flushed, clinging to Roman's neck, her voice broken and breathless.
"Roman, the dress, the one I got today, you ruined it."
Roman gave a rough laugh and whispered in her ear.
Didn't you buy that dress to please me? I even had my designer make you a matching one. Shouldn't you be the one making me happy tonight?
Bianca held on tighter, her voice rough and shaking.
Sir, please, I can't go on any further.
Her head leaned back as she tried to breathe.
What if someone catches us together?
Roman stilled for a moment, then his expression turned cold.
She's deaf. She can't hear a damn thing. You can scream as loud as you want. It doesn't matter.
Bianca pouted, tracing circles on his chest.
I know, but you're marrying her soon, and I'm still stuck in the shadows. It hurts.
Roman's expression softened at her complaint.
Jealous little thing. I brought you into my home, didn't I? Isn't that enough? Don't worry. Even after the wedding, I won't leave you. Whatever Elena has, you'll have too.
Moonlight fell over Elena's pale face. She covered her mouth, tears blurring her vision. The sounds from the room cut into her heart like blades. Barefoot, she ran into the rain. The water soaked her clothes, but she only wanted to get as far away as possible. In the blur of tears and rain, she thought she saw the younger Roman, the one with honest eyes and a sincerity that had once seemed unshakable. Little dove. Leave him. Leave the man who doesn't love you anymore. Never forgive him. With tears streaming down her face, Elena stared back into the darkness. Fine, I'll leave you. I will never forgive you. Elena didn't return until dawn. She had barely laid down, then Roman tiptoed back in. As always, he tucked her in, pulled her into his arms, and kissed her forehead.
Even though you can't hear, I still want to say this to you. My little dove, I truly love you. In 3 days, you'll be my wife, and we'll be together forever.
People said, a man's sudden tenderness after betrayal usually came from guilt. Elena had never understood that before. Now she understood it perfectly. All she wanted was for time to move faster, for the day she could leave to come sooner. When she woke, Roman and Bianca were already downstairs having breakfast. The moment Elena stepped into the dining room, Roman pulled out a chair for her. He watched her eat in silence, and a trace of guilt surfaced on his face. Roman wrote, "Little dove, I have to leave Asudi. Just work with the wedding planner. I'll be back soon. After the wedding, my time is all yours. We'll go anywhere you want for the honeymoon." Elena already knew his so-called trip was only an excuse to stay with Bianca, but she no longer cared where he went. She only nodded faintly. As Roman was about to leave, she stopped him one last time. "Roman." "Roman." He paused, looking back in surprise before cupping her face with staged devotion. Roman scribbled,
Missing me already? It's only a few days. After the wedding, you'll have me every single day.
Outside, Bianca's voice called out. Roman planted a quick kiss on Elena's cheek and hurried off. Elena watched him disappear down the road. That was likely the last time they would ever see each other. Not long after they left, Elena received a message from Bianca. Bianca's message read, "Elena, you got quite the show last night. I can't believe you actually sat through that. Roman promised to spend the next few days with me. Imagine your groom to be in another woman's bed right before the wedding. You are pathetic." Elena did not reply. Instead, she ordered the staff to pile everything she owned in the backyard. When everything had been moved, she set it on fire. She stood there in silence, watching 5 years of memories burn down to ash. As the fire died down, so did every spark of love she ever felt for him. 2 days remained before her departure. Bianca sent another photo. It was a pregnancy test report. Under the pregnancy test report, she wrote, "Can you believe I'm pregnant? Roman's first heir? He is absolutely thrilled." Still no response. Elena took her custom wedding gown and shredded it with her bare hands. The gown meant nothing now. On the day she was set to leave, Bianca sent yet another message. "We are exchanging our own vows. He promised me the same ceremony and said he'll never let me or the child suffer. Elena, you'd better step aside and give up the Donna seat. He doesn't love you." This time, Elena replied, typed in the chat, "May your dreams come true." After that, she pulled the surveillance footage from the estate. Roman had already brought Bianca back more than once for their private amusements. She copied the videos and sent them to the wedding planner. Below the video, Elena wrote, "I've prepared a surprise for Roman. Play this during the ceremony and keep it a secret." After a while, Elena received a text from Roman.
I haven't finished my business yet. I won't be back until tomorrow morning. Don't worry. I'll be there before the wedding.
Elena let out a quiet laugh. "All right. I've prepared a surprise for you at the ceremony." Roman quickly sent a second message.
What surprise? I can't wait to see it.
Roman quickly sent a third message.
I've waited 5 years to marry you. Tomorrow you'll finally be mine. I'm so happy.
Roman, I hope you enjoy the surprise. She ignored his follow-up messages, tucked away her phone, and walked out. The car from the disappearance service was already waiting at the gate. At the airport, she typed a few lines and handed her phone to the agent. "Make sure this phone and the body are delivered to Roman tomorrow. Tell him I died at 6 o'clock sharp and left him a parting gift." She wanted him to know that while he was with Bianca, she chose to end her breath. Her final words would be a curse that haunted him forever. The agent nodded, swapped the phone for a new ID and a plane ticket. "Ember, we'll erase your ghost. Safe travels. May your new life be better than the last." Ember. It was the new name she had chosen. A name born from ash and meant to leave the past behind. From that moment on, a new life was waiting for her. In Bianca's apartment, Roman finally let her up after she'd begged for mercy a dozen times. He caught her wrist and spoke in a hoarse voice.
Pregnant and still acting reckless. Bad girl.
Bianca melted into his arms, her voice soft and coy. "I was just worried you'd be holding too much in." Roman chuckled and pinched her cheek.
Jealous?
Bianca gave a small huff and turned her face away. "Tomorrow you're marrying another woman and I'm not supposed to be jealous?" Roman's face went cold. He dropped her wrist and glared at her with a sharp warning in his eyes.
I'll spoil you as long as you don't cause trouble for Elena, but forget your place, and we're done.
Bianca flinched. She didn't expect such a cold threat while carrying his heir, but her greatest talent had always been knowing when to back down. "I understand. I've never thought about competing with Elena for the Donna seat." Roman pulled her back into his arms.
All right, don't sulk. After the honeymoon, I'll set aside a full week just for you. Don't worry. Even after I marry, I won't neglect you or the child.
The next day, at the wedding, Roman Moretti stood at the center of the stage, with a white rose in his hand. Below him, the elite guests waited, and the world's media streamed the event live. At exactly noon, the ceremony began. The music for the bride's entrance started, and Roman's palms grew slip with sweat. When the music ended, the main doors remained closed. Guests began whispering among themselves. Just as Roman was about to send a message, the Ember stepped onto the stage.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Moretto, thank you for your patience. Miss Elena has prepared a special surprise for our groom, so a special segment has been added to the ceremony.
Roman's tense heart finally eased, so this was the surprise Elena had mentioned.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Please look at the screen.
All the guests lifted their heads toward the giant screen. A smile appeared on Roman's face. He, too, was waiting for the surprise, but in the next instant, the images on the screen changed every expression in the room. 2 bodies were thrashing on a sofa, their moans echoing through the chapel. At first, the guests could not tell who they were and began murmuring in confusion.
Who are those people? How dare they ruin Moretzi's wedding?
But Roman recognized them immediately. It was him and Bianca. He roared at the Amoria, fury exploding out of him.
Turn it off. Turn it off right now.
The Ambor scrambled, but the system was locked. The video wouldn't stop. As the footage played on, the faces on the screen became unmistakably clear. The venue erupted.
My God, that's Roman Moretto. Is he cheating on Elena?
Meanwhile, the live stream hit 5 million viewers. The comments were savage.
So Roman is just another man who can't keep his pants zipped. I feel stupid for ever believed he was some perfect lover.
But the fact that his bride still had not appeared made him more and more uneasy. He pulled out his phone and sent Elena a message.
Are you here yet?
A minute passed. No reply. Sweat dampened Roman's palms. Just as he was about to call, the heavy doors finally creaked open. Every eye in the room toward the entrance. Roman's heart leaped. She was here. Thank God, the video was gone. Holding the bouquet, he walked forward slowly, ready to greet his bride. But the moment he stretched out his hand, he froze. The figure entering was not the woman he had been waiting for. Men in black marched in, carrying a casket on their shoulders. Furied in Roman's eyes. But one of the men stepped forward with a look of pure pity.
Mr. Morelti, your bride took her own life yesterday. Our condolences.
Roman went numb. He just texted her yesterday. She was fine. How could she have killed herself? A cold laugh broke from his throat.
The video wasn't enough? Now you bring a coffin and a death hoax to my wedding? Who sent you?
The man's eyes only grew more sympathetic as he gestured towards the coffin.
If you don't believe us, you can see for yourself.
Fine. Let's see what kind of trick this is.
He strode over. But as soon as he saw the body inside, his knees buckled.
Elena!
Roman trembled as he dropped to his knees beside the coffin. He searched every inch of her, praying to find a single detail that wasn't hers. There was nothing. It was her. The woman who'd been his world for 5 years. How could that be possible? They were just texting. She didn't sound suicidal. She didn't sound desperate.
No, this was a trick. She was just throwing a tantrum because he'd been busy. She was only upset. Only throwing a tantrum. That had to be all.
Roman reached out and touched her face, trying to convince himself that Elena was merely asleep.
You're so cold. Let me warm you up. It's our wedding day. You can't leave me alone here.
His voice shook before the last word even left his mouth. A staff member stepped forward and tried gently to support him. Mr. Moretti, please accept our condolences. Elena has passed away. Roman snapped, shoving the man away with feral strength, his eyes bloodshot and crazed.
No! Elena isn't dead. She's only asleep.
The staff member hesitated, then silently handed him a phone. Elena took her own life yesterday at 6 in the evening. When we arrived, she had left a final message for you on this phone. 6 o'clock. The time hit Roman like a bullet to the chest. If I'm not mistaken, their text conversation ended exactly at 6 o'clock. After that, he had spent the rest of the evening with Bianca. His face went even whiter. With shaking hands, he unlocked the phone. What greeted him was a note. Just a few lines. but each one tore straight through him. Roman, at 22, you saved me. You gave me a love I never knew existed. These 5 years were my happiest, but I didn't know joy could rot so fast. Half a month ago, I risked my life to undergo ear nerve repair surgery, just so I could stand beside you properly at our wedding. I didn't expect the first thing I'd hear to be you and your assistant in bed. I've spent 2 weeks in hell, and now I accept it. There is no forever. Thanks for the memories. But in the next life, and every life after, I never want to see your face again. Roman broke down before he even reached the middle of it. Tears, something he had never shed, splashed onto the screen. The color drained from his face. His whole body swayed as if he could no longer stand. In the end, his knees gave out completely, and he collapsed onto the floor. So Elena had already regained her hearing. She knew everything. The last 2 weeks flashed before his eyes, laughing about Bianca with his boys, feeling Bianca up and home, blowing off Elena to screw around before the wedding.
The more he remembered, the sharper the pain in his chest became. What had he done?
She risked her life for him, and all the while he had dismissed her as weak and indulged himself shamelessly with Bianca. He couldn't imagine her pain, waking up with hope, only to hear the sounds of his betrayal. She must have been shattered. Grief swallowed him whole. Every weird comment, every lingering look from the last few days, it was all a goodbye. Her death had left signs everywhere, and he had missed every one. Through his tears, he saw his younger self staring back with pure disgust. You betrayed her. You ruined everything. Now she's gone forever. This is your price. The last lines of her note were daggers. His little dove never wanted to meet him again, not in this life, not in any life after it. How much pain had she endured to write those words? And the one who had caused all of it was him. The guests were stunned by the sight of the coffin. Thinking back to Elena's delayed entrance and the video on, everyone understood. Elena knew everything. The video was her plan, and the arrival of the coffin after her suicide had been part of the revenge. The crowd murmured in disbelief. What should have been a joyous wedding dissolved into a scene of shock. Guests began to slip away, heads shaking. Only Roman remained, kneeling in front of the coffin. At the burial, he stood off to the side like a man whose soul had already left his body. It was not until the coffin was about to be covered with soil that he came back to Dizis. He threw him forward, his eyes red with desperation, refusing to let anyone touch it. It took Sempin to drag him away and pin him in place. When the grave was sealed, all he had left was a photo of her smile on cold stone. He broke free from the hands restraining him and dropped to his knees. He pressed his head against the headbone, tracing her name with a trembling finger, weeping like a child.
Little dove, this is all my fault. I'm sorry.
But sadly, there was no one left who could answer him. Roman returned home looking emptied out, moving like a corpse. The moment he pushed open the door, the cold of the house hit him. He had only been gone for 3 days, but the entire estate felt unbearable. Ever since Elena moved in, she had filled the place with small, warm touches. Piece by piece, she had turned the cold mansion into something that finally felt alive. Now, all of it was gone. The house had gone back to what it had been 5 years earlier. Cold and lifeless. Looking at the familiar and unfamiliar rooms, Roman felt like he was losing his mind. He summoned the staff and roared.
Who got rid of Elena's things? I never gave that order! Who dared to do it?
The servants looked at one another nervously before one of them finally answered.
Sir, Miss Elena asked us to clear them out 3 days ago.
Yes, she told us to pile everything in the backyard, and she set it on fire herself.
The last light in Roman's eyes went out. At that moment, one servant stepped forward hesitantly and opened his palm.
Sir, I found this while cleaning. I thought it might be important. Maybe she dropped it by accident.
Another servant came over carrying a bundle of white fabric.
She left this yesterday. It looks like a wedding gown. I didn't have the heart to toss it. Roman's hands shook as he took the ring and touched the diamond on the stratted lace. It was the engagement ring he had made himself, and the custom wedding dress.
Pain burst through his chest and spread through his whole body.
Elena, did you hate me that much?
Hated him enough to die as a middle finger to him. Hated him enough to burn every trace of their life.
After the pain came a tide of endless regret. Today had been supposed to be the day he looked forward to most. He had thought he was finally going to marry the woman he loved. He had never realized he had already been standing at the edge of a cliff. Just as he reached for happiness, the floor gave out, dropping him into a pitch-black abyss. Roman drove everyone out and stayed alone in the room. He sat on the floor, clutching the torn remains of the wedding dress. Around his neck hung a necklace made from Elena's ring, threaded onto a cord. These were his only ties left to her. He held them tight, pretending she was still there. Then, the phone he had kept in his pocket suddenly vibrated. It was Elena's phone. Roman looked down and saw a new message from Bianca.
Elena, happy wedding day. You really think I can't snap my fingers and make Roman run to me?
Being the Donna means nothing. I'm carrying his kid. What's more important, your little party or his heir? Last night he was kissing my belly, saying he can't wait to be a dad. Honestly, your seat at the table is already getting cold. Below was a photo of Roman, looking tenderly at Bianca's stomach. He scrolled upward. He found an entire history of messages Bianca had sent Elena.
I am pregnant. Roman and I have been together for a year.
You really are pathetic.
There were provocative photos, countless suggestive shots, and even a video of Bianca wearing a wedding dress under him. Roman remembered Bianca begging for a dress of her own after learning about the ceremony. Thinking it was harmless, he had casually told the designer to make one for her too. And by then, Elena's ears had already healed. Roman shut his eyes. The scene at the boutique rose back into his mind with brutal clarity. Pain sliced through him again. No wonder Elena had torn her wedding dress apart. He glared at the phone. His grip tightened until his knuckles went white. Fire burned in his eyes.
Bianca. He had warned her again and again not to tell Elena anything. She ignored him and spent months torturing Elena behind his back. Just then, his own phone started ringing. He answered, and Bianca's tearful voice came through immediately.
Roman, my stomach hurts. Something's wrong with the baby.
Please take me to the hospital?
Roman's expression went sub-zero, the air in the room frozen.
All right, I'm coming now.
He could hear the excitement brighten her tone at once. Then I'll wait for you at home. If she wanted to see him that badly, he would make sure she did. On the other end, Bianca froze, stunned by Roman's instant yes. Then, shock exploded into pure wicked ecstasy. She thought it'd take a fight to snatch him away on his own wedding day. Instead, he agreed without hesitation. Did that mean she had already surpassed Elena in Roman's heart? It made sense. She was Carrie Roman's only child. Bianca slipped into a sheer silk gown and drenched herself in his favorite scent. Then she reclined on the bed and waited. The second Roman kicked the door open, he saw her, stripped down and waiting. This was her so-called stomach pain, another trick to drag him away from Elena. In the past, he looked the other way. As long as she played the part and kept him satisfied, he didn't mind the act. But indulgence was not permission. He would never allow Bianca to think she could take Elena's place. And for Elena's death, Bianca would pay. Bianca, oblivious to the frost pouring off him, was still lost in her own fantasy of becoming Donna. The moment she saw him, she switched to victim mode, stroking her belly.
Roman, I know it's your wedding day. I shouldn't have called, but I'm so scared. My stomach hurts so much. This is your baby. I was terrified for him. I had no one else to call.
Where does it hurt?
Bianca failed to hear the coldness in his voice and took it for concern. She moved close and slid her arms around his neck, her breath warm against his ear.
The baby says he misses his daddy.
She knew Elena was too innocent to give Roman the raw thrill she could provide. That was the advantage Bianca had always counted on. In her mind, she was already planning how she would provoke Elena the next morning. She never noticed the darkness deepening in Roman's face. She took his hand, pressing it to her belly, then slowly deaded it upward. Clutching her swollen face, she looked up at Roman in disbelief. A whole year together, and he'd never raised a hand. What went wrong?
How could you do this to me? Roman, why did you hit me? What did I do wrong? Haven't we always been like this?
Her voice shook with sobs, and tears shone in her eyes, but the tear-stained face in front of him stirred not a trace of pity.
Who gave you the nerve to tell Elena about us?
Bianca's face went pale.
Roman, what are you talking about? I didn't say anything to Elena.
If I hadn't seen the texts, I'd almost buy your little act.
I told you 1,000 times. Elena is the only woman I love. You're just a toy I kept for fun, and I will make you pay for it.
He slid his hand from her chin to her throat and squeezed. The veins in his arm bulged. He looked savage. Desperate to live, Bianca clawed at his wrist, fighting for air, but his grip was iron. Staring at the man she once adored, she felt a paralyzing fear. With the last bit of air in her lungs, she choked out a single word.
The child.
Bianca fell to the floor and gasped for breath, coughing hard as her whole body shook from the nearness of death. Roman looked down at her pitiful state without the slightest change in expression. His mind was occupied by a single thought: get rid of the child. To him, Bianca had become a living reminder of Elena's death. She was the one who had pushed the woman he loved into despair. The child in her belly no longer felt innocent to him. It only disgusted him. Hearing Elena was dead, Bianca steadied, and a surge of twisted joy rose in Bianca's heart. She had no idea how disastrous the ceremony had become. It had taken so little. A few provocative messages, some suggestive photos. Elena had been far more fragile than Bianca expected. Bianca was grateful. Her chance had finally came. She scrambled up, grabbing his shirt with tearful eyes, begging,
I never thought she'd kill herself. I'm devastated too. But she's gone now. We have to move on. For the baby.
Roman lifted his hand and patted her face lightly, but his expression was colder than ice.
I almost forgot about the child. Just thinking about what you did to Elena makes me sick. A child from you disgusts me.
Finally made Bianca understand what was about to happen. She stumbled backward, both hands flying to cover her belly. He pulled out his phone and gave the order.
Get it aborted. Now.
She was broken. She couldn't believe he could now kill his own seed without blinking. No. She would not allow it.
It's a life, Roman. It's the proof of us. Imagine him calling you Daddy. Wouldn't that be perfect?
She tried playing the happy family card, knowing threats would only backfire.
Love? There's nothing noble between us. The only person I've ever loved is Elena.
The bodyguards arrived. They pushed through the door, seized Bianca, and prepared to take her to the hospital. She fought like a wild animal, but against trained pros, she didn't stand a chance. On the way out, she twisted around and screamed at Roman with all her strength.
Roman! All those nights? Did they mean nothing? You said you loved me!
Roman did not respond. He only signaled for the bodyguards to move faster. Bianca fought the entire way, but this was Roman's turf. His hospital. His rules. She was strapped to the operating table. As the anesthesia entered her bloodstream, her struggles weakened until consciousness slipped away. When Bianca opened her eyes again, a dull pain sat heavily in her lower abdomen. The child was gone. The light in her eyes died. She stared at the ceiling, a hollow shell. After confirming with the doctor, Roman walked to her bedside.
When you're discharged, leave this city. I don't want to see you again.
Every time he looked at her, he was reminded of his betrayal and of Elena's death. She understood now that she would never become Roman's wife. She had already lost even the position of his secret lover. With nothing left to lose, she decided to tear him open too. "Roman," she said, her voice full of mockery, "do you think you're some tragic lover now? Kill the bastard kid, kick out the mistress, and mourn the true love you helped kill?" Quite the performance. Her words made Roman's fists clench.
Shut up.
A bitter smile tugged at Bianca's lips. "That first night, I didn't beg. You couldn't resist me. You're the one who pinned me down. And last week, you brought me to your house. You snuck into my room at night. As for Elena's death, it happened because of you. You're the one who drove her to suicide."
The news of Roman's affair with his lieutenant had exploded. Every trending topic was about him. A month earlier, Roman's public proposal had caused a sensation. He had declared that his wedding would be the grandest the world had ever seen. But the wedding became a funeral. The bride left unexpectedly after learning of their differing hearts, and her coffin would brought Faut to the place, changed Roman's state completely in an instant. The man once loved by many now stood under the gaze of the crowd.
"I'll never believe in love again. What a piece of trash."
Poor Elena. Why did she throw away her life for a scumhag like that? Are all these powerful men two-faced liars? This is disgusting. I used to envy their so-called perfect love story.
The consequences did not stop with public opinion. Companies tied to Roman's empire began cutting off their partnerships one after another. In no time, the businesses under his control were in chaos.
Meanwhile, Roman locked himself away, clutching the shredded dress as if he could still find her warmth.
Roman's parents were abroad on business. The moment news broke, they raced back, burning every resource to calm panicked shareholders and save the company from total collapse. As soon as the corporate crisis was contained, they hurried to the estate.
The moment they stepped inside, a worried servant rushed up to them.
"Sir, madam, he hasn't left his room for over 24 hours. He won't eat, won't talk, nothing. We didn't dare break the door down, but it's been too long. We're terrified something's happened."
Roman's parents were instantly alarmed. They had not imagined their son's condition would deteriorate this badly. They hurried upstairs. Just as the servant said, no matter how hard they knocked or how loudly they called his name, there was no response.
Roman's mother, sick with worry, turned to her husband.
"Do you think something happened to him in there?"
Without hesitation, Roman's father ordered the bodyguards to break the door down.
The curtains had been drawn so tightly that not a thread of light could get through. Roman was still curled on the floor, clutching that shredded wedding dress like a lifeline.
Even when people entered, he did not react at all. The moment Roman's mother saw the hollow look of his face, her eyes reddened.
England. Elena, now Ember, stood before a massive estate that looked more like a fortress than a home, completely dazed. She had never imagined that leaving the country would lead her to her biological parents.
On the plane, a well-dressed woman seated beside her had glanced at her several times. Out of courtesy, Ember greeted her, and the two gradually began talking. The woman was from the Bellamys, an old money-expirate family in England. She'd flown to New York on a desperate hunt for her long-lost daughter. She and her husband had been living overseas for years while running their businesses. By coincidence, their youngest daughter had been born during their final stay in New York. But the day before they were meant to depart, their daughter vanished. They contacted the police immediately and asked every friend they had for help. After a month of hell, the police called it a kidnapping with zero chance of recovery. With their visas about to expire, the couple had no choice but to leave the country. They never gave up. They kept the search alive through friends, returning every single year to spend a month in the city. This year marked the 26th year of their search. Everyone told them to move on, but they cling to that last shred of hope, only to face disappointment year after year. When the woman heard Ember was an orphan from the very city where her daughter was taken, she nearly lost it. She grabbed Ember's hands, begging her for a DNA test the moment they landed. Looking at the raw hope in their eyes, Ember couldn't say no. Touchdown. They went straight from the tarmac to the DNA center. After a long and anxious wait, the results came out. Ember was their missing daughter. The moment they saw the result, the couple broke down. They held Ember and sobbed as if 26 years of grief had burst all at once. For the first time in her life, Ember understood that she had never been unwanted. Her parents had loved her all along. They had spent 26 years searching for her. After discussing it, they decided to keep the name Ember and add their family name. Ever since learning who she was, her mother had held her hand constantly, looking at her with endless affection. Even her usually restrained father could not hide the emotion in his eyes. When they reached the Bellamy estate, Ember's mother led her to a door. Ember, we have been waiting for you. This room has been yours for 26 years. Now that you're finally back, it belongs to its rightful owner.
Her mother's voice shook. Ember's father gently patted her shoulder, encouraging her to open the door.
Go on, see if you like the room we prepared for you.
Warmth rose in Ember's chest, the kind of family love she had never known before. She opened the door. The first thing she saw was a large vintage bed. Beside it, a window overlooked the garden, where lush lawns and flowers stretched into the distance. The floor was covered with a soft carpet. At the center of the room sat a stack of boxes. Curiosity flickered in Ember's eyes. What's in those? Her father stepped forward, picked up one of the boxes, and handed it to her.
Open it and see.
She carefully unwrapped the box and found a diamond bracelet inside. A thought struck her at once. Without hesitation, she opened the others. Inside them were a gold bangle, a princess dress, a tiara, a necklace. There were exactly 26 gifts. Not one more, not one less. Tears flooded her eyes. They were birthday presents. Even while she was gone, her parents had prepared one every single year, waiting for her to come home. The hell she endured in the orphanage made her believe love didn't exist for her. That's why she fell so hard when Roman crashed into her life, like a blaze of heat. But now she realized that in a place she never knew existed, she was loved beyond her wildest imagination. Ember threw her arms around her parents. Dad, Mom, I'm home. Ember's mother looked at her helplessly.
Ember, you actually have a fiancé. I promise he's a perfect gentleman. Just meet him once. If you don't like him, I'll find a way to call it off. I promise. Ember didn't expect her first homecoming hurdle to be a marriage arranged while she was still in diapers. Years ago, Ember's mother and her best friend had been pregnant at the same time. They agreed, if it was a boy and a girl, they'd join the families through marriage. If the babies were both boys or both girls, they would simply grow up as close siblings. When the news came, a boy and a girl, they were ecstatic, already dreaming of becoming one family. Soon after that, and then Ebel was kidnapped. The arrangement vanished along with her. But days ago, after confirming Ember was single, her mother revived the old pact. Coincidentally, her friend's son was also unattached. The two mothers were thrilled, certain they'd be a perfect match. After the 5-year relationship that had broken her heart, Ember was wary of love. She had no intention of beginning another relationship anytime soon. Still, she did not want to tell her mother about Roman and stir up more guilt and worry. So in the end, she agreed to meet the man. At worst, she thought, she could tell him the truth and they could remain only friends. Seeing her agree, Ember's mother brightened at once and hurried to set a time.
Terrified she'd change her mind, they scheduled a dinner at the Bellamy Villa for that very afternoon. That afternoon, her mother even brought in a stylist to go all out on her look. Ember had no choice but to let herself be fussed over.
But when she finally met the man she had been promised to, she froze.
It's you?
They spoke at the same time. Ebel stared at the man in front of her in astonishment. It was Adrian Gray. Adrian looked just as shocked. Eberl's mother and Adrian's mother exchanged glances full of amusement. Then they quickly found an excuse to leave, giving the two of them privacy. The huge garden felt suddenly quiet, leaving the pair in awkward silence. Adrian spoke first.
Elena, I never imagined it would be you.
Adrian had been in the same major at her university back in New York. Ebel nodded. Given their mother's bond, he obviously knew she was back. There was no need to explain much more. He hesitated before speaking again.
Elena, I remember your ears.
Ember instinctively touched her neck. She'd hidden her past misery from her parents and wasn't about to start now. So she confessed everything to Adrian, the 5 wasted years with Roman and the sensory awakening procedure. Adrian, please keep this to yourself. I don't want my parents to worry. Adrian seemed to weigh the request before a playful smirk tugged at his lips.
I can. But on one condition.
Ebel blinked. They hadn't talked much in the past, but she remembered him being easygoing. Since she was the one asking for help, it seemed fair to offer him something in return.
What condition?
Adrian smiled and gave her a playful look.
Can I call you Ember instead of Elena?
The request caught her off guard by how simple it was. Everyone at home called her Ember, but hearing it from him felt surprisingly natural. Of course, Adrian. Then Ember thought of the revived engagement, and her expression turned conflicted. After a moment of silent struggle, she finally spoke.
Adrian, you've probably figured out I'm still healing from a mess of a breakup. I'm not looking for anything new.
About this engagement? I think we need to talk about it. She worried about bruising his ego, but Adrian only looked relieved.
It's fine. I'll handle my mother. Honestly, I spent the whole drive here trying to figure out how to kill this deal without starting a family feud. I just didn't expect it to be you. We can still be friends even if the wedding's off, right?
Relief loosened something in Eber's chest, and she smiled. Of course. Maybe it was their shamed college days, or the fact that he understood her silence, but being around him was effortless. As she slowly adjusted to life in England, that ease became precious. Before long, the two of them discovered that they shared plenty of interests. They started spending more and more time together. One day, after feeding seagulls by the beach, Adrian drove her home. Standing outside the villa, they lost track of time, laughing over the day's highlights. Then a familiar voice came from behind her.
Little dove.
The moment Roman saw that familiar figure in the news, he burned every connection to find her. Since the Bellamines had been abroad while he was stuck in New York, it took him 2 weeks to trace her. The moment he saw the details in front of him, he knew. Eber was Elena. Even if she had changed her name, even if the world now knew her as the Belagar's daughter, he was sure she was the woman he had been searching for. As soon he confirmed it, Roman booked the earliest flight to England. On the way there, he imagined countless versions of their reunion. The most likely, he thought, was that she would still be furious and refuse to speak to him. But that did not matter. As long as he could see her again, it would be enough. After Elena's death, Roman understood clearly than ever that his life had no meaning without her in it. He promised himself that he would apologize properly. No more temptation. No more other women. Once Elena forgave him, he would hold a grander wedding and tell the world how much he loved her. What he didn't count on was finding another man already marking his territory. The two of them talked for nearly an hour, smiling as if the rest of the world did not exist. Roman watched from the shadows, tracing the curve of her smile in that familiar softness. The longing he had buried exploded all at once and nearly drowned him. Unable to bear it any longer, he finally spoke the name that had carved itself into his heart. After nearly a month, Roman saw the woman he had believed dead standing alive before him. His eyes reddened, his Elena Elise caught.
Little dove, I finally found you. You're not dead. You're alive. You're right here.
He instinctively ignored the man beside her.
Ember let out a silent sigh at the sound of Roman's Elena Lagamis. She had always known the fake death would not fool him forever. She had simply not expected him to track her all the way to England so quickly.
She gave Adrian a look, signaling him to leave, then turned to face Roman. Her expression was cold and distant. Why are you here? Elena is dead. I'm Ebel now. Only then did Roman think of everything he had learned during his search. The woman Woolen he once believed to be an orphan was in fact the Bellam's missing daughter, the treasure of an family.
Little dove, no, Ember, I know I screwed up. I've handled Bianca. The kid is gone. Can you forgive me? Can you forgive me?
With his quick mind, Roman had already pieced the truth together. The body at the wedding had been part of her plan. She had staged her death because her heart had already died. Now that he'd found the woman haunting his every thought, he had one mission: beg for mercy. Ember gave a short, mocking laugh. Back then, she had watched Roman's affection for Bianca with her own eyes. And now he could speak so casually of having dealt with Bianca and the child. For a while, she thought he'd just transferred his love to someone else. Now she understood the truth. Roman loved no one at all but himself. Roman, she said quietly, I truly regret ever loving you. The simple sentence drained all the color from Roman's face. He could not understand it. For 5 years, they had loved each other, Had they not? They had been happy. So why would she regret it? Did it mean she had stopped loving him altogether? The thought struck him with a sharp pain in the chest. No. That could not be true. It had only been a month. How could Elena let go of 5 whole years so quickly? She had to still be angry. She had to simply be unwilling to forgive him yet. Roman took a step forward, wanting to catch her hand and explain everything. But before he could get close, Ebel stepped back and stood between them. The rejection hurt enough to make his breathing hitch, but he still forced himself to go on.
Eber, I didn't mean it like that. I just want to explain. Please believe me. I've only ever loved you. I never had real feelings for Bianca. Can you forgive me? Come back with me. I swear, no more women. Ever. I'll only love you. We can have a wedding 10 times grander than before.
A faint hope rose in Roman's eyes as he spoke, but Eder remained indifferent, her face calm and cold. 5 years ago, you swore you would love only me. Then you cheated and brought another woman into our life. I won't believe you, and I will never forgive you. Go back. Don't come looking for me anymore. The first time Ember learned of Roman's betrayal, the pain had nearly destroyed her. But seeing his lingering tenderness, she had wavered for a split second. She thought if she played dumb and finished the wedding, maybe he'd stay the same. Maybe he would never let the affair break into the center of their life together. But lie after lie followed. She watched him lie to her face. She saw him and Bianca with her own eyes. That was when she finally understood. She could not pretend nothing had happened. What Ebel had wanted from the very beginning was real love. Roman had stained that love. And once love was no longer clean, she did not want it anymore. She had already made up her mind. She would never forgive him. After speaking, Ember turned to go. Roman could not let her walk away that easily. In his desperation, he grabbed her wrist.
Little dove,
He pleaded.
I swear my heart has always belonged to you. I only love you.
Ember pulled her hand free and looked at the man before her. His anxiety and sincerity might once have moved her, but now they only felt cheap. A faint aged her. Love me? Talking about your mistress with your friends right in front of me? Was that love? Having the designer of my wedding dress make one for your mistress too. Was that love? Slipping downstairs to meet her while I was asleep? Was that love? If that's your version of love, it's worth nothing. I don't want it. Each sentence turned Roman's face paler. By the time she finished, he looked as though he might collapse where he stood. Her words were knives. Roman had never hated himself more than he did in that moment. If only he had never touched Bianca. Then none of this would have happened. Roman's voice shook.
Little dove, will you really never forgive me?
Ember nodded without hesitation. That's right. Never. Without giving him another glance, she turned and walked into the house. The next day, she had plans with Adrian to attend a concert. Since her awakening, Ember craved the details of life, the peace of nature, the raw power of music, and the truth hidden behind words. Adrian's passion for music made those outings interesting, and she enjoyed every one of them. Meanwhile, Roman remained outside the Bellamy estate all night. Embel's words from the day before echoed through his mind again and again. The cheap thrill he felt choosing Bianca over Elena now cut him like a double-edged sword. Even so, he was unwilling to give up. He simply could not believe that Ember could erase their 5 years together. The next morning, Embel came downstairs humming lightly after receiving a message. Her mother, who was eating breakfast below, could not resist teasing her. Weren't you the one who swore you were done with him? Look at that smile. At this rate, that engagement might just be back on. Though she and Adrian were only friends, Ember felt heat rise to her face at the words.
Mom, we're just friends.
She fled the house right after saying it. The concert tickets had been difficult to get. Adrian had mentioned that his favorite cellist would also be performing. The moment she stepped outside, she saw Roman standing not far away. She ignored him completely and ran straight towards Adrian. He greeted her with a sandwich in hand and offered it over naturally.
My mother insisted I bring this for you.
Ember took a bite and her eyes brightened at once. Grace's cooking is incredible, as always.
Come on, let's go. Concert's about to start.
You still haven't told me who else is performing today. Roman stood there and watched Ember disappear farther and farther away with Adrian. When she had stepped outside, he had wanted to call out to her and beg one last time, but then he saw the light in her eyes. It was bright, eager, alive. He knew that expression too well. In the early years, Elena had once looked at him like that. Now, it had been nearly 2 months since he last saw that light directed at him. Thinking back to the days before her staged death, Roman remembered how still and lifeless her eyes had become. Nothing seemed able to stir them anymore. And he understood why. All he had left her with in the end was pain. He could no longer bring himself to ask for forgiveness. That afternoon, Roman booked a flight back to New York. Before leaving, he borrowed a pen and a sheet of paper from a passerby since he did not know Ember's current number. He wrote a short note and left it where she could easily see it near the gate. Then he took one last look at the place where she would spend the rest of her life, got into the car, and drove away. A gust of wind lifted the note and sent it skimming through the air. On it were just a few words.
Little dove, let me call you that one last time. I'm sorry. I wish you a life full of happiness and joy.
Spring in England, Ember and Adrian walked slowly through the estate's rose garden.
Ember.
Adrian stopped and looked at her with a seriousness she had never seen in him before.
I know you're not ready yet, but I want you to know something. If one day you choose to believe in love again, I'll be here. I'll wait.
Ember lifted her eyes to his face, and warmth spread quietly through her chest. Maybe one day she would believe in love again. But for now, she was already content. She had her parents' love, the company of a trusted friend, the freedom to walk beneath the moonlight, and the joy of wind against her skin and flowers in bloom. She was Ember, a woman reborn from ash.